Welcome back. It is 6:01 p.m. All council members are present. We are ready to begin our workshop session. The first item on our agenda is, there we go, continued discussion on proposed amendments to the Alcoholic Beverages Ordinance. I believe Ms. Matricardi is going to be leading this discussion.
Good evening, Madam Mayor.
Good evening.
All right, so as you guys know, we've been going through the alcohol ordinance to come up with some updates to make the city more attractive to new businesses, as well as just do some clarity changes, because several of the provisions date back to the 1960s. And so I met with the mayor, Councilman Clay, the city manager, and city clerk on multiple occasions. And so the way that we set it up is that it's a tier system. So there's different classes depending on what type of alcohol you sell or in the manner you sell. So there's package sales, that's one tier. There's on-premise consumption, that is a second tier. And then the third tier is both. So it's where you would actually do package sales and on-premise consumption, such as like a microbrewery or a micro distillery. And so there also were significant changes to the enforcement procedures, as well as just, the hearing process, just to clean things up and make sure everything is clear and concise. And so essentially, it is a comprehensive update. We didn't just look at this in a bubble. We wanted to make sure that we could make these changes so that this will be a good ordinance for you guys to go by now and then in the future. So I'm happy to address any questions you guys may have.
Thank you very much. Are there questions from the body?
The tier, you said tier 1, 2, or 3, and what was tier 3 again?
So the tier 3 is where they do on-premise consumption and then also package sales. So for instance, a microbrewery may actually make the beer and sell like a 6-pack of the beer on the premises, but they also might sell actual, drinks by the drink, alcohol by the drink.
Okay.
Danielle, you might also want to mention that we added another thing that I think was significant to adding was ancillary uses. For example, if you have an art gallery and you want to be able to provide wine there, either gratis as part of your cost of admission or whatever, or whether you want to even charge for it in some cases. And we talked about special events. So there will be a lot more places that are authorized to serve alcohol to their patrons, even if they are not if that's not their primary focus. I think the limit was like 20% of their sales or something like that we said in there. So that's something for you guys to think about as well. It is a significant change to the ordinance to facilitate bringing in new businesses and retaining existing businesses and being competitive with other cities. And it depends, it depends on the body whether how liberal you want to be, how much do you want to have to enforce. Do you think there's a risk or not? There's a lot to gain with making things more competitive and more like the other cities. So I don't want to make specific comments myself because this is really your time, I think, for those who haven't been so intimately immersed in the whole thing.
Fully steeped.
Yeah, right. My brain is shot anyhow.
I read through it very good, or at least I thought I did anyway. I had a few little minor, not tweaks, but corrections that don't mount to an awful lot that we probably need to put in there. But I thought it was very well done. I thought y'all spent a lot of time, and you could tell that you spent a lot of time. And I just had a couple of changes. Danielle, if you wanted me to give you those, I can give them to you, but just to look at and see if it's correct or not. If you're making corrections to make things, I can, when you're talking about packet page 15, when you're talking about, it says here, the motor vehicle, the customer shall place the mixed drink in a locked glove box, locked trunk, or the area behind the back of the front seat. Well, everybody's buying Teslas now, and they don't have trunk, they have a frunk, F-R-U-N-K. And I don't know if you want to throw that in there or not, but that just caught my eye.
Well, maybe it's.
I thought
maybe
that
the
was
way you
directly
say
from
it
state law.
That is state law, but it would be consistent with state law if we have it where it's, an area out that can be accessed.
But I think Ken's got a good point. If you say something if you can say that, but couldn't you also say something that's inaccessible from the passenger compartment, readily
Right.
accessible from the passenger compartment? Because that's what we're trying to do.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what the state's trying to do.
And the only other thing is on the packet page 20, when you're talking about distilled spirits, malt beverages, wines by the drink, and they have to be so many feet from the school, so many feet from place of worship, so many feet from the library. There's one of them you did not mention library at all, and you did mention it on the others.
Okay.
And that was B. You didn't mention the library. Those are just minor things. Again, I thought it was very well done, and I just had those two minor comments. But
Thank you, Councilman Allen. Make sure to look at that.
yeah, just look at it. That's all.
Any other comments?
Yeah,
Councilman Taylor, were you
I
gonna?
had one,
Okay.
Like you said, non-traditional place that doesn't sell alcohol. So with
Councilman
those
Taylor,
people,
Councilman
they have a
Taylor,
special-
let me keep,
Special use.
Councilman
permit,
Taylor, Councilman
uh,
Taylor, I think we're having a little bit of trouble with your connection.
I'm
you
here.
tr- Yeah, we can kind of hear you, but the sound is a little pixelated. Can you turn off your video and see if that helps?
Or lean closer to the mic. Your video is frozen, Derek.
Okay. Can you
Okay,
hear me
let's-
better now?
Yes, sir, we can.
Yeah.
Go right ahead.
Okay, what I was saying was, other places that's not traditional selling alcohol, where these people need a special use permit to sell alcohol, like we were saying, like like let's say if a barber shop wanted to have alcohol at a place, do they need a special use permit, or can they just sell alcohol?
So for instance, a barber shop, under the revisions to the ordinance, we have something called a complimentary service license, which would cover like barber shops or salons, spas, where they can get that as long and offer free alcohol, it's malt beverages, so beer and wine only, no distilled spirits. But so they could sell that, not sell, but they can offer it for free as a part of the service that they're offering. But then there's ancillary license, which they can actually sell as long as they're 20% of their annual profits, a maximum of 20%, come from alcohol. So, I mean, it can be less, of course, but they can't generate more than 20% because we're trying to make it. So that's, alcohol is not their primary business. It's just something that they offer as a side, so that's where Councilman Clay was referring to museums, art galleries, businesses of that nature.
There's also a limit to the amount that you can give them complimentary. So you can't just, they can't drink 2 6-packs of beer while they're getting their haircut, for example. And the only issue with that is it enforceable? You know, how do you control the amount of wine or beer or whatever? That's a separate issue, but it's in the ordinance to try to control that as well.
I think most of the women, at least, who were involved in the conversation had been to some form of either salon or whether it's hair, nail, whatever the case may be, and offered wine in conjunction with their service or something along those lines. And so there is space for that within this proposed ordinance. I believe that the wine has to be an individual single serve, like small sort of airline bottle type things, and the beer would have to be in cans. But for a place, say like a cigar bar that wanted to serve alcoholic beverages, presumably distilled beverages, they would do something like the ancillary permit, and that no more than 20% of their sales could be derived from alcohol.
Right. There's a lot of thought that's gone into this, but that doesn't mean there aren't glitches.
That's right. I think I stopped counting the hours that we were looking at this, Councilman Clay, but
I don't even want to think about it, Mayor.
any other questions? Any other feedback on the proposed ordinance? All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Matricardi, for all of your work on this. I know that it's been, something that we've been work at for a number of months now. So appreciate it, and look forward to consideration at our next meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 2 is presentation on establishing a Keep College Park Beautiful organization. And we have our outstanding Director of Public Works, Ms. Echevarria.
Good evening.
Good
Now, please-
evening.
Oh, there it is. Thank you. I
It's
don't
right
have to go-
there.
Okay, that's even better. So good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. First, I would like to apologize. I did extend invitations to the Keep America Beautiful Executive Director, as well as the Keep Georgia Beautiful Executive Director, and they had last minute conflicts. They did indicate that if there is an interest from mayor and council for this program, that they will definitely attend next month's meeting. I would love the opportunity so they can go into the benefits. So the goal here is to see if there is interest in establishing a citywide litter prevention, stream bed maintenance, roadway maintenance, litter opportunities for communities. And the goal pretty much is to change behaviors in the communities. So I haven't been here too long, but a few months, and I can definitely tell you that litter is a big issue. And also residents and city people working on the beautification. And I just feel that not having an organization, we're not tapping into the available resources. Establishing a Keep College Park Beautiful organization and working on those memberships would allow us opportunities for grant funding. Instead of us utilizing our funds internally for that, we'll have grant opportunities for more canisters, more signage, more flowers and other shrubbery to enhance and beautify the city. So I want to go ahead and go to the next slide.
I apologize for interrupting, but
Oh, I'm sorry.
can we just say yes? I mean, this just seems like it just seems like a no-brainer. I know you have a whole presentation, but
Yes, but and I'll be
And-
quick about it, but it's up to you. I mean, I say yes. I think we need it, but I think we can do so much more with it, and just to enhance selling this to you through having this program, we can apply for a Water First accreditation. It's a 12 to 18 month process. This will allow the city to get a 1% reduction on GFA loans. And currently there are 39 cities in Georgia out of 535 cities that are accredited. So there's just so many things that I would like to be able to do here. I've done it before in a different city, and I just feel like this is something that would take us to the next level.
Well, I think this is more than a program. I think it's an attitude change. It's a philosophy that just runs through every fiber of the city, through the residents, through each of the departments, and they all look at it from their different perspectives. And I know in Ward 1, I've had citizens come and say, "Hey, on Lyle, the creek that runs under Lyle is clogged with all sorts of debris and plastic and what have you." Well, that came from an individual citizen. But if all the citizens had that attitude and took ownership in the city, and then we send a message, as we're trying to do downtown, to the visitors to our city, that you just don't do this in our city, and it's our city.
Yes.
That's what I mean by an attitude, a feeling, more than just, well, we're going to check the stormwater drains, and we're going to check the creeks, and we're going to pick up litter every third week.
No, we're going to engage. We're going to engage and invite different HOAs and communities in different wards to take part in these activities throughout the year. I think we do a decent job, but I think having this organization, we can have more a full-time approach to this.
Absolutely.
And consistency, I think, is key with changing those behaviors and beautifying the city.
You need coordination and structure to integrate it and make it all work.
Yes.
I agree with the mayor. I think it's a no-brainer.
I do too. I think so many people have talked about it over the past years that, and I see people out there picking up paper all the time, and I think they would jump on board and get so excited about it and can feel like they're part of the city and making the city look beautiful, so to me, it's a fantastic program, and thank you for bringing it to us.
Okay. So I don't need to continue with my slides.
Well, I mean, you can. You
Well,
you set up
we'll
a whole
make it.
presentation.
I know, just for the sake of the workshop, I'm gonna make it as fast as possible. Frances Kennedy, I've known her for 10 years. She is the executive director of Keep East Point Beautiful. I've done fabulous things with her. So if you go to the next slide, I'm just going to show you opportunities that we can do. Speaking on, this is the Rivers Alive program, where we actually go out with the Keep College Park Beautiful organization in hopes of cleaning up some of our rivers and our creeks for residents. You can go to the next slide. This is a storm drain stenciling event. The Rivers Alive program, as well as the storm drain stenciling event, will count towards our EPD, Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System annual reports. So that's another component to this organization that I need, is definitely to make sure that we're meeting our environmental compliance standards regarding our creeks, our waterways, and our storm drainage systems.
Now, I did put some of those on Virginia Avenue several months ago.
Yes.
So we are doing that.
Yes. Next is the litter enforcement workshop. I just attended it. I want to say it was last week, and actually Frances obtained a grant. And of course, East Point, College Park, other cities in Georgia were able to attend that at Impact Church in East Point. So again, she's a fabulous grant writer. And we need this here. We need this opportunity to go ahead and host events like this for litter enforcement and workshop. It was very, a lot of information regarding their actually state litter enforcement and regulations, and they're also city. So it was very interesting. He had photos, pictures of examples. So we really had a really good time in that workshop last week. Next slide. Yeah. Again, we're attempt to recycling. We've done medication events through that program. We've done tires. We had people drop off oil, TVs at certain locations so that people are not dumping them in our creek and putting them in our storm drain system or illegal dumping those activities. So those are things that we want to host on a regular basis in College Park. Next slide.
May I ask a question? And I know that, oh, okay. It's a recycling question that's not entirely on point. I know that we had had some conversations about recycling. several months ago, and I know that there's interest from folks for curbside recycling.
Yes, it's just the added cost. Our current revenue structure does not support it. So we would definitely need to look at how much that's going to cost. And of course, it possibly would be an increase in rates for us to supply it. I don't think we have a problem with doing it. It's just our current rates just don't support that activity at this time. So what I can do is definitely come up with some numbers and we can discuss that further.
Ms. Echevarria, is there, I know you came from East Point. The recycling program in East Point is something that all residents participate in, correct? It's not an opt-in program.
No, but the thing it was saying that I try not to say too much.
It's a part of their solid waste.
Yes, it's part of the service, but I would say in the last 2 to 3 years, the sanitation fund was not doing so good. And it was because of properly having the rates and the support of it. So that's something to make sure we don't get into that same kind of issue, is to look at it. I think we can learn a lot from East Point, and then we can present some options to you.
I mean, I know that we had discussed at one point that people would opt in, so it wouldn't
Correct.
necessarily be a citywide thing that people would say, I will pay the extra X dollars per month.
But it would help if everyone participated, because I think the way that the fee structure is, if you don't have so many people or most of the city contributing to it, it won't be, it's not financially viable for the city to do so. So you would need a majority of the residents to participate.
What we had talked about, Melissa, was to have a private firm, subscribe to a private firm, come in, and in other words, if residents want to have it, they just stay out of the way of our garbage trucks, and they bring in their garbage trucks and they pick it up from the houses that really, really want it, because some people really, really want, I mean, we make a trip to the recycling lot every couple weeks from our family, but some people don't have the time to do that, don't want to do that. Fine, if they want to pay an extra fee and they care about the environment as much as we do, then pay the extra fee and bring in a private firm to do it.
I think that's a way to go. And that way, the people that are interested or residents that are interested, they'll just deal with them on their own. But we would I think that is actually a good option. I mean, because you may not ever get buy-in from everybody, but some people I know I've looked at some of the Facebook posts and there is interest in it.
Well, the other thing is, if it turns out that this catches on and the private firm gets to the point where it's having a lot of people involved, then maybe the city can take it on at that point, because it's proven that it can pay for its own.
I agree. I think that's an option. Yes.
Sorry, I know I went a little left field there.
No, it's all on the same. So here is another grant opportunity that Francis, she received $20,000 for bins in parks. Again, this is something that we definitely can tap into, another resource that I think the City of College Park needs. Next slide. We can do green space cleanup and beautification through flower beds. I know there are some wards with some flower beds, and we definitely can do a better job of maintaining them, and also probably having residents to contribute to that opportunity as well. Next slide.
Oh, there's action in that slide.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They were actually pulling the kudzu out.
And here you see cleanups. You see tires. You see other debris that the Keep College Park Beautiful campaign can assist with College Park. So the goal is definitely not to compare you to another city, but just to show you what can be done in College Park and even better. Next slide. And this is the cigarette litter prevention program. She also received a grant for this as well. This would not come to no cost to the city. And of course, that would help us a lot with the beautification of the city, especially throughout the entire city. Next slide. And Children's Water Festival. I've been probably working on this with Francis over the last 7 years. We had a Tri-City School and Impact Church actually linked us to church, and where we educate students about the water cycle, litter prevention, different water careers and professional activities. We've had people from the state to come, and this was an annual water festival that we hope that we probably can bring to College Park. But it was put on, of course, on hold with the onset of COVID in 2020, and it was postponed this year as well. Next slide. And again, the environmental litter education program, we can do help with parks and recreation during summertime, any after school programs. We're educating students and residents about beautification in litter in the neighborhoods. Next slide. And again, the other component too is to definitely make sure we meet all of our environmental compliance. I would say that East Point's beautiful program provided at least 35% of our regulatory information that we are currently working on. So the need is definitely there. And the next report is due April 30th of 2022. So I'm definitely anxious and need this here as soon as possible. Next slide. Okay, so again, we want to become an affiliate. We want to become members of Georgia America Beautiful and also Keep America Beautiful. There is a membership fee associated with it, but I assure you that the grant opportunities are going to outweigh our membership fees. So again, I think it's an awesome opportunity, and I wouldn't bring it to you if I wasn't confident that we can do a lot in College Park.
What is that fee?
It's $3,000 for the startup, and then there's the annual fee. I'm sorry.
Okay. I
Francis,
don't think
hold
it's
on.
3,000. I think it's 2,500. If I'm not mistaken, it's 2,500 for the
For the
start.
annual fee. Yes.
No, for the startup fee.
For the startup fee, and then there's an annual membership. So
annual
the goal here again was to have Keep America Beautiful and Georgia Beautiful executive directors to explain that information to us, and of course they canceled last minute. But I can definitely put everything in writing and send it to the mayor, council members, and the deputy, interim city manager, Ms. Mercedes, by today, or if not the latest in the morning, so we can get down what the breakdown would be. And other than that, we would just support financially the program, whether it's through supplying some costs through litter prevention and startup costs to get some of the programs together until we can get grant funding pulled into the organization.
And if you want to see it today, I do have the slide from Keep Georgia Beautiful, because I asked her if she wanted to send it here. If you guys want to see it today, I can show you that now.
I think if we just get
Okay.
it via email, I think that should be fine.
Mhm.
Any other questions from the body or any comments? Every dollar counts, but I think if we can contribute
Yes.
2,500, and if we turn around and get even one grant of 20,000,
That's the goal. That is the goal.
that would be money well spent. And I know that we have so many people who care about just keeping College Park beautiful. It sounds like something that, in my mind, that we should pursue. I think Councilman Allen, Councilman Clay have expressed the same. Council members Gay and Taylor, what are your thoughts?
I definitely agree. I anything to make the city better, you know what I mean? And cleaning up, and like you say, we got a real bad litter problem in College Park, so I'm on board with it.
Councilman Gay?
Yes, I agree with it. Thank you for sharing, Melissa.
All right. Appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 3 is a presentation on food trucks from Ray Coleman. Mr. Coleman?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sir, we can.
Yes, sir.
Mayor and Council, my name is Ray Coleman. This is my second approach with you guys concerning changing the ordinance on the food
Mr.
truck.
Coleman, I apologize. Ms. Kennedy, can you go ahead and mute, please? Thank you. Please go ahead.
So I am coming to the mayor and council again, revisiting the food truck ordinance that College Park has, restricting food trucks in the city. At our last meeting, we spoke about me acquiring more parking, and I have basically done that with the county. There was a bit of confusion. So I think after speaking to Ms. Washington, what I need to ask the council to do is consider lifting the ordinance because there was a conflict about having two conditionary use permits on one piece of property. So I'm asking the council to go ahead and clarify your stance on lifting the ordinance on food trucks in College Park.
And thoughts from the body?
I'm not sure what I just heard. If he's saying that we eliminate the ordinance on food trucks and allow them anywhere in the future without any kind of condition, then I don't agree with that. If he's just saying that we need to adjust things or so that you can have two conditional permits or something of that nature, then yeah, I don't see that as an issue. But I would not want to eliminate the ordinance on such that you can put a food truck place anywhere in the city. And I personally, I don't think that Mr. Coleman would like that either, because that's going to bring in potentially a bunch of competitors.
Councilman Clay, I think on packet page 132, what Mr. Coleman is looking to do is have a dual permit, one for his raw material yard for his landscaping, and then have an area for a food truck. And this is just for this property, not all over the city, just
right. And I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that.
What type of raw materials would you have? You know, depending on the raw materials, if you had some fertilizers and mulch with fertilizers in them and you had them right next to the food trucks, that kind of gives me a little problem. I don't know if you can do that, but what type of raw materials are you planning to have in there?
We're only going to have things like firewood, mulch, pine straw, those types of things. And there is, I don't know if it's in your packet, but there is a diagram for you to see that the raw material and the food trucks are going to be separated from each other. So they won't be right up against each other.
Would you have management there to
Yes,
manage
sir.
the raw materials? And
yes, sir, we will.
And what hours of operation were you thinking?
That is something that, you know, based upon the ordinance and I guess we would have to work with College Park to make this a smooth transition. At this point, I just would like to get the ball rolling. So, you know, if it's, at this point, I don't even want to say something that's going to cause resistance from council. So if I have what I would like to do, but this is something that has hit a stagnant point. So whatever we need to do so that you guys are on board, we'll work around that, and hopefully it can be a smooth transition.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Well, from last time, we mainly talked about you just acquiring some more land. So you said you was able to acquire the land, right?
Yes, the county has in principle agreed. Of course, that has to be signed off by the commission, and the commission is going to sign off on it on the 30th. But the powers that be are taking it to the commission. It's been done. It just needs to be signed off on.
Okay, and so I think like the raw material, you was already doing that, and I don't see it in this diagram, but from the last time, it was separate from the food truck yard. You just trying to get the parking, I guess, across the street or closer or something like that. So
yeah.
I don't see a problem with it. You know, I want to thank you for even thinking about doing it.
Councilman Taylor, it's on packet page 132 of your agenda. He has a whole diagram of what the area would look like.
Okay, yeah, I think it was a little bit bigger. I see it now, but it was a little bigger than last time. But yeah, like I say, I agree with what you got going on.
I also would like to say that, you know, there are a lot of food trucks around the city. And if you ask me, it looks kind of tacky. I agree with Councilman Clay. It would be, you know, I guess I'm reaching a little bit, but I think it would be nice for the city to mandate one particular place for food trucks.
On private property?
I'm sorry, say it again, man.
On private property?
No, well, they're all over. If you go up and down Old National, Sullivan Road, they're every weekend. I mean, they're everywhere now.
No, what I'm saying is that you would think that it would be a good thing to have to mandate food trucks in one location.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
are you suggesting that that one location should be your property?
Yes, ma'am. If you look at Forest Park has done exactly what I'm proposing to you. They just opened up a new food truck park. All of the cities are getting into the food truck business. But I think that for, you know, for, I guess, uniformity, it only makes sense for one location to be selected for food trucks.
If we were to select one location, I think it would have to be on public property. Like, why would we give the right to one property owner to have a food truck park and not allow any other? Hold on one second. Why would we not allow any other person who owned land and fulfilled those same requirements to do the same?
Well, from that standpoint, because I'm the only one that's proposing open up a food truck park in College Park right now. That's what I'm saying. In other words,
but what if somebody does next week? Why should we prevent them from doing it?
Oh, then if that's the case, then that goes against competition, and it wouldn't be good for the city to make that determination. But I'm just saying right now, since I'm the only food truck park, whatever I'm asking that you make it. I guess what's the verbiage I'm trying to say? Like, all of the cities are making it where if you're gonna put a food truck somewhere, you have to go in the places that they are allowing food trucks. Not
you're saying concentrate it in one area rather than having them scattered all on the streets of the city.
Exactly.
You're really saying put them on private property or put them at specific locations rather than in front of this place or in front of that place where they may cause a traffic jam or whatever.
Correct. So
if you're open for one more question.
Mm-hmm.
I got a question on packet page 133. In your business overview, you talk about opportunity, and you say Main Street Truck Park will be the only food truck park within a 20-mile radius with diverse offerings and entertainment. And I don't recall us talking about entertainment. So I'd like to know what you had in mind.
That was when we wrote this package. Basically, we was talking about more so in the beginning of us using that space if we could not get you to lift the ordinance. That's more so pertaining to any special events type situation. But I'm sold out on just the food trucks parking. So that's something I guess I need to amend in that packet, because we've been going at this for quite some time now. So
okay, yeah, because I think entertainment complicates the issue. At least I would think it's not my ward, but I would think it would complicate things.
With a couple of questions, with the food trucks there, would you plan on having like music there on whether it be a DJ or whether it be, live music? Would you plan on having that from time to time, or what are your plans on?
I honestly haven't gotten to that kind of thinking as far as it's concerned. I'm more so looking at it from a standpoint where it's a place, especially on Fridays and Saturdays, that it does a couple of things. It creates a few more jobs. It helps bring traffic to my raw material yard, and it's a centralized place for people that are getting into alternative entrepreneurship via the food trucks to set up and create a family atmosphere. These food truck parks, I don't know if you guys are familiar with them, but they create a great experience for family. It's something different to do. And so to answer your question, I haven't thought about any music or any DJs or anything like that, because that's not something that's standard with the other food truck parks.
What about the food trucks? Would they be leaving every day, or would they be coming back, or would they be staying overnight and you parking the food trucks there overnight?
In my original proposal, that's what I wanted, but after doing research and after trying to attract different food trucks, that's not something that they like to do, is stay in one place. Food trucks move around based upon events. I don't know if you listen to the radio, whatever radio, whether it be country, whatever, gospel. These food trucks are going to so many different events. So, we have to build up, I guess you could say, the traffic for the business there. And maybe as we build up the traffic and promote more, we will be able to get them to stay long term. But initially, I don't foresee any trucks that's going to just stay there, because they go where the money is.
Mr. Denmark, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
If we were to allow for one food truck park, and someone else came along and wanted a food truck park on their private property, we're not in a position to say that they can't do that if they were to meet similar criteria as Mr. Coleman, correct?
You're absolutely correct, Madam Mayor. It's kind of a equal protection kind of issue. If they met a similar criteria, we have to operate based on a standard as opposed to conferring a unique benefit on one particular citizen. So we would have to have a standard. And if someone met that standard, then we would have no justification for not giving them similar treatment.
Thank you, sir.
Following up on that question, Winston, what is the implications from a zoning standpoint? In other words, if you have a vacant lot, if I own a vacant lot in a residential area, can I turn it into a food truck park in that case? And I think the answer is no, or at least it better be no. So it sounds like we have to look at how you merge this in with the zoning ordinance, because I don't think we have food trucks in the zoning ordinance. I don't know, maybe and Nicolette can help out. Nikki can help out on that point, but I don't think we do we?
We do
No,
not.
So the issue is we don't allow for them right now, how the ordinance is written. So they are not in the zoning code. So we would have to make an adjustment to the current code to allow for Mr. Coleman to have this food truck park. In my opinion, that's my legal understanding of it. And then when we make that change, we would also have to designate them for particular zoning districts.
Right. Well, what I would worry about is, I'm sorry.
Sorry, Ms. Washington, we didn't quite get everything you just said.
Sorry, this is C2, which is our heavier commercial district. So it might be the right place to allow them if you all do decide to go that way.
Yes, but if we don't specify in the zoning ordinance, if we don't modify the zoning ordinance, then the mayor's argument comes back and says, well, we allowed it someplace in the city. It wasn't in any of the zoning ordinances. So there's no reason why I can't put it in the middle of a residential area. That's someplace in the city. And that's why I think you need to say, okay, when we allow it, yeah, we're allowing it because it's in the C2 zoning district. And We can't exclude it elsewhere in the C2 zoning district, but that's the only place. So I think it's important that we do both at the same time.
Sure, yeah, that makes sense to me. So yes, I think that's the question is, do we want to go through the process of adjusting the current ordinance to allow for food trucks
in C2 or
In-
wherever we might.
In C2,
In C2.
in C2. And then we can always go back and say, okay, well, it wouldn't be so bad if we put it in, I don't know, M1 or what have you. But that would be another change to the zoning ordinance. And that at least controls it from automatically having to be granted in some other district where we wouldn't want it. Okay.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments from the body?
Yeah, so what's our next step? What we need to do to make this happen?
I think we need to look at this from a zoning perspective, that this is not something that we can do on an individual basis and maintain. I mean, I think it makes sense from a policy perspective to look at this as a zoning issue and whether or not we want food truck parks in a particular area. So
Yeah.
if there is consensus from the body that food truck parks is another approved use that we would feel comfortable with in C2, then I think that's the direction we need to go in. I would like to take a closer look at exactly what we've got in C2 right now. Like, I don't have an encyclopedic knowledge of that. Ms. Washington, you probably do. But
Can I interject?
I'd like to finish.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't want to be rude. I didn't want to be
No, you're
rude.
fine. You're fine.
Okay.
But I think what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And from a policy perspective, we need to be consistent across the board. So if C2 is what we want to do, if food truck parks are what we want to allow within C2, then we need to do that across the board. Mr. Coleman?
Yes, ma'am. Mayor and council, I understand that this is my second time coming before the board of the council. I have investors, and so this is my second time coming. It seems like we're about to leave again, kind of in a stagnant phase. I have one investor that's kind of getting frustrated as to, are we going to be able to do this? Are we moving forward? Also, the county commission is waiting on you guys as well. They would like to see, I guess, some movement as far as a solid yes or no, so that we can kind of gauge on where are we going with this. So I guess what I'm asking is, can I get some kind of definite from this this session tonight on, are we going to be able to do this? And if so I can take it to the other people that's waiting behind the scenes to facilitate this financially and from the county standpoint on the paperwork standpoint. Because I went back before the county to acquire the land that you required from the last meeting.
Oh, you don't have any paperwork confirming that you've acquired said land, correct?
Well, that's correct. And so they're supposed to be meeting on the I think it's the week before Thanksgiving to finalize this, but they want to also see that you guys have, based upon the last conversation, have finally said, okay, yes, we're moving forward. In other words, they don't want to commit this land to me and then you turn around and say no.
May I ask the question?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Is a resolution appropriate for this kind of ask?
If we want food truck parks, we need to update our zoning.
No, I mean, in the meantime, to get,
What would the resolution say?
oh, I don't know. I was just asking. I don't know what it was. I don't know. I'm just trying to help out.
Well,
Madam-
on
I mean,
another note, like,
I think there's consensus from the body that we're interested in moving forward. But we're not in a position tonight to rezone to allow for food truck parks.
And Madam Mayor, we have to comply with the zoning procedures law as
Right.
well. And that requires advertisement. I mean, even if this board were unanimously inclined to do what Mr. Coleman is asking, and in my opinion, you don't have the ability to do it tonight. And I don't know what the county is doing or who is advising them, and we have an ordinance that prohibits or that does not allow food trucks. And in order to change that, we have to comply with the zoning procedures law, which is a tedious and cumbersome process, and because the General Assembly says so. And so we would have to comply with that and go through the proper advertisement and change the zoning ordinance in the respective places in order to permit food trucks in designated areas. And that might be on private property or in city parks or whatever in the wisdom of mayor and council you decide to do.
Thank you,
Let
sir.
me ask a dumb question, Winston. Would something like, I'll invent it, a letter of support that would basically say that mayor and council is supportive of the idea of having a food truck park. So we're now departing from the idea that food trucks aren't allowed anywhere, because we have granted permission for food trucks in the past to attend events and so forth. So they're not totally foreign to us. So we could have a letter of support that would say that we don't have conceptually any problem with a food truck park at that location. However, it will require us to review the zoning code, and barring any problems, which we don't anticipate, we would see that the zoning code would be changed. But we can't effectively approve it at this point until that zoning code is changed. Would that be helpful?
Yes, sir. That we'd have to wordsmith it to make sure that we haven't committed to zoning or rezoning something. And I know that's not what your intention was, but we would have to wordsmith it such that we don't give that impression. But so I generally say, yes, I agree that we could do something like that conceptually, subject to getting the wording correct.
Sort of like an MOU, Winston.
Yes, sir.
We can't have anyone rely upon that document.
Well, that's what you say in an MOU. You say you can't rely on it. It's not legally official, but this is our intent. This is our direction. You do it all the time in industry. We do it in the civil government. So for other things, we have developers come and do MOUs with us for property, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So it's sort of a reverse MOU.
Does Mr. Coleman think a MOU will get him to the next step with the county?
I this is new for me. I don't know. I just know that I would have, if that's the council's position, then I would have to take that, so that we could, satisfy what they're asking.
I personally think a resolution is more appropriate, but I guess a MOU is better than nothing.
What is a resolution, if I may ask?
Winston, Denmark?
Yeah, a resolution is essentially where the council resolves or makes a declaration of its policy and intent. And so the council could do a resolution, but it would not, of course, be binding in any respect or obligate the council to take any particular action.
Mr. Coleman, I don't know that we can give you what you want tonight. We can get on the road to getting there. It's going to take us some time. But we can't do one thing for you and not allow similarly situated people who might have a plot of land and want to do the same thing, the opportunity to do so. So,
well,
I understand your frustration.
No, it's not actually a frustration for me. What happened was I did what the council asked me to do the last time, which was secure the land. So now that I've secured the land, now we got another moving part happening. And so I'm in the middle, you understand what I'm saying? With my hands tied, because this was these things were not brought in the last meeting. So I did, based upon what you told me in the last meeting, was go secure the land and we should not have any problem, basically, in so many words. I did.
I don't think we said that.
Well,
I don't think you won't have any problems.
Well, okay. Well, I don't want to say not having a problem, but go secure the land, basically. I secured the land, but the county also wants to see in writing or some kind of writing that what I'm articulating to them is truthful. That because they're giving me a land lease based upon what I'm telling them that the council is telling me. So I have nothing to go back to the county, and they're getting ready. What is Mr. It's what is the commissioner? Commissioner
Abdul Rahman?
No, it's Commissioner
Arrington.
Arrington. His office is the one that has said that they're going to do it based upon my verbiage of what the council asked me to do and the idea. So but he's saying, but I don't have anything in writing that's saying that the council is on board with what you're telling me.
I think
That's why I suggested the MOU.
I mean, I think what we can say is that we're going to, I think there's consensus from the body to re-examine our zoning ordinance to permit food truck parks in C2. You have a C2, and we're in that process. But I don't know that. Go ahead, Councilman Clay.
I'm sorry. Mayor, it just struck me. Why can't we give him a copy of the minutes? Why can't he take a copy of the minutes?
I think that would probably work.
And
why we can't just do the letter what we just talked about? Winston said we could do it. Why we can't just do that? I'm not saying say we gonna do it tomorrow, but at least give him where he needs to get to go forward. We done did this with a lot of different people on a lot of different issues. He just want to go forward what he got going, and we can work on what we got to work on later. But to let him get the process, I think we should do whatever we can do. It's like we throwing roadblocks, so now he can do it.
I don't think
we did tell him if he go get the land, come back and be a problem. That's we didn't tell him all this stuff we're talking about right now. Talking about the land. Now he got the land, it's something totally different.
Well, first of all, Mr. Coleman, do you have anything from the county that indicates that their land lease with you is contingent upon what we do?
No, I don't.
Okay. The land lease is up for consideration at the board's meeting on the 30th. Is that correct?
Their next meeting, yes, ma'am.
Is there an opportunity to connect with Ms. Washington who can affirm that we are re-examining to incorporate food truck parks in our zoning? And
that's not what they asked for.
Okay, so what do you have in writing what they have asked you for from us?
No, ma'am.
Can you get that? And so see if we can meet those. Can you get that in writing and see if they can meet and we can meet those needs?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor, I'll work with Mr. Coleman and see if I can't get some information from Commissioner Arrington, and then we'll start moving forward. We'll bring it back.
Because I think I think we might be able to handle this administratively and get what you need so everybody can move in the right direction.
I mean, you could even take a transcript of the minutes and and attach them to a short letter that says, this is communicating the council's intent and we're interested in moving forward, et cetera, without going through a lot of formal documentation. And just throw that out.
Mr. Denmark, any issues with that approach?
No, Madam Mayor, just like I said previously, though, we would have to make sure that the language is correct, because as you also point out, we cannot give the impression that we have committed or agreed to rezone. We just cannot do that, but we can certainly state the council's approval and intentions, and it would have to be wordsmith to be consistent with law.
Well, if they have a transcript of this minutes, I think it would be very clear that we're not committed.
All right. Any other questions or comments on this issue?
Madam Mayor, just for the record, so I am going to move forward with a text amendment for the zoning ordinance to allow food trucks.
Food truck parks in C2.
Food truck parks in C2.
I believe that is the intent of the body and the
Right.
consensus of the body. Is that correct, gentlemen?
Correct. A food truck park, not random food trucks parked all over.
Gotcha. Okay.
Hey, Ms. Washington,
Yes.
Ms. Washington, do you know how long that will take you to get that done?
Well, zoning procedures law, it requires us to take it to planning commission and to advertise it. So the soonest, I won't be able to get it to you by the December 6th meeting, which is, wait, can I? No. Okay. So but I can get it by the first meeting in January to you all.
But we could give him a draft of your proposed change to the ordinance. What I'm trying to do is try to give him something that is pretty convincing, but it isn't a done deal until we've done it. So if you tell him, here's the copy of the minutes, here's the change, the proposed change, not yet approved by council, to the zoning ordinance, with a little cover letter, one paragraph saying, hey, look, this is the way we're intending to go, but we haven't gotten there yet. And that's the best we can do, Mr. Coleman, I think.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Okay. So I think we've got a direction to head in, and Ms. Washington, you'll start heading up things on your end. And I think that is the last issue that we have for workshop. So we will see everyone at 7:30.
Thank you.
Thank you.